Let's talk about something strange: silence. We live in a world where existence is measured in pixels. Birthdays, coffee cups, heartbreak, and success, everything is curated, filtered, and uploaded. We've been conditioned to believe that if a moment isn't shared, it didn't really happen. Our memories have become commodities. Our experiences have become content. It is a digital panopticon where the feeling of being watched has become the default state of being. And yet, there are those who stay completely invisible. They scroll quietly, they observe deeply, but they rarely, if ever, post. You might know a person like that, a friend who is always there but never on your feed, or perhaps you are that person. While the rest of the world is shouting for attention, why would someone choose to stay unseen? It's easy to label them as shy, boring, or antisocial, but the truth is far more complex. Beneath the quiet, there is a fascinating psychology at play, a quiet rebellion against a culture obsessed with being watched. Maybe you know someone like that, or maybe you are someone like that. For some, silence isn't a lack of something, it's a form of control. It's the power to choose what the world doesn't get to know. Think about it, social media has subtly reshaped how we define ourselves. It rewards the display. It praises the noise. It tells us that our value is directly proportional to our visibility. But when a person refrains from posting, they are often exercising a high level of self-restraint and what psychologists call intrinsic motivation. Instead of looking for a like to validate a job promotion or a beautiful sunset, they internalize the reward. They don't need a digital echo to tell them they are enough. They already know. There is a specific kind of confidence that grows in the absence of an audience. It is a self-assurance that doesn't require a witness to feel real. When a person stops thinking in captions, they start experiencing moments for themselves again. They aren't looking at a landscape and wondering how to frame it for others. Instead, they are simply standing in the wind, feeling the cold, and letting the moment belong only to them. This is the difference between performing a life and living one. It is the realization that a life well lived does not require a public record. There's a powerful concept in psychology called psychological ownership. It's that profound feeling that a memory, a thought, or an experience belongs deeply and exclusively to you. It is yours. It is private. It is part of your internal architecture. The moment you post it, that sense of ownership changes. It becomes shared property. Once an image is uploaded, it is no longer just your memory. It is now open to judgment, to misinterpretation, and to the cold, calculating logic of an algorithm. It is no longer a moment. It is a conversation piece. People who don't post are often guarding their life. They understand that some things are too fragile to be handled by the masses. They keep their moments untouchable, private, pure. They aren't hiding, they're protecting the sacred. To them, a private victory is often sweeter because it wasn't performed for an audience. There is a specific kind of strength found in the unshared. It builds a core identity that isn't dependent on how many people saw it. It creates a person who is solid even in total darkness. They understand that when you give everything to the public, you leave very little for yourself. We have to admit posting is addictive. Every like, every heart, and every comment triggers a tiny hit of dopamine in the brain. We've been biologically trained over the last decade to equate validation with value. We are living in a giant social experiment where the prize is attention, and the currency is our own privacy. But when someone deliberately steps outside that loop, it's a form of profound healing. They are essentially starving the ego to feed the soul. They rediscover the simplicity of doing things without a lens, traveling without tagging, cooking without photographing, feeling without explaining. This creates what psychologists call a strong internal locus of control. This means their sense of happiness and success comes from their own actions and beliefs, not from the external approval of a digital crowd. By refusing to participate in the dopamine cycle, they reclaim their time, their attention, and most importantly, their mental peace. They are no longer waiting for a notification to tell them how to feel about their day. There is a theory called the looking glass self, which suggests that we build our identity based on how we think others perceive us. Social media has turned this theory into a 24/7 reality. We are constantly adjusting our masks to fit the expectations of our followers, often without even realizing we're doing it. For the person who doesn't post, this pressure is significantly reduced. They don't have to maintain a brand. They don't have to worry if their lifestyle looks aesthetic enough. They are allowed to be messy. They are allowed to be inconsistent. For many, the silence comes from a place of emotional exhaustion. They've seen the highlight reels of everyone else and felt the subconscious weight of comparison. They've felt the self-presentational pressure, the exhausting feeling of being watched even when they're sitting alone in their living room. So they retreat, not because they don't want to connect, but because the cost of being seen feels too high. They want to be seen truly in person, over a long conversation, or not at all. They value depth over reach. They would rather be understood by one person than noticed by 1,000. There is also a specific type of person who stays quiet because they are busy observing. These are the deep processors. These are the ones who realize that you cannot truly see the world if you are always trying to show it to someone else. While everyone else is busy trying to capture the perfect angle, the silent person is noticing the way the light hits the floor. They are listening to the subtext of a conversation. They are absorbing the world around them with a level of detail that content creators often miss. By not interrupting the flow of life to document it, they remain in the zone. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's an overflowing reservoir of thought. They have the loudest minds in the room, but they choose stillness over spectacle. They understand that not every truth is meant for the crowd. Some truths are meant to be processed, held, and eventually transformed into wisdom. They are the keepers of stories that will never be told in a status update. There is a strange, modern fear of being forgotten. We post because we want to leave a trail. We want to prove we were here. But the person who doesn't post has found a secret freedom, the freedom of being forgotten by the algorithm. When you are forgotten by the digital world, you are remembered more deeply by the physical one. You are present for the people sitting across from you. You are present for the thoughts inside your own head. You aren't a ghost in a machine, you are a person in a room. There is peace in knowing that your worth isn't being debated in a comment section. There is peace in knowing that your growth is happening in the dark, where it can take root without being disturbed. This isn't isolation. It is intimacy. It is a homecoming to the self. In a world built on the constant trade of attention, presence is the rarest currency. The people who don't post remind us of a forgotten truth. Being unseen is not the same as being insignificant. The most profound transformations, the moments of deep growth, the messy grief, and the quiet, private victories, these things happen in the stillness. They don't need an audience to be real. In fact, they are often more real because they were never edited for public consumption. They were never polished. They were never meant to be liked. They were simply meant to be lived. So the next time you notice a person who never posts, don't assume they're missing out. Don't assume they are empty. Maybe they're just full. Maybe they've remembered what the rest of us are slowly forgetting, that we aren't meant to be performances. We aren't meant to be products. We are just meant to be people. Unfiltered, unposted, and entirely our own.